This penny almost slipped through the cracks, almost lost forever in pocket change. But when it finally surfaced, it stunned the entire coin world, because this ordinary-looking 2009 Lincoln penny, with no mint mark, was suddenly worth nearly $2 million. Imagine the shock. A coin so common, so small, so easily overlooked, turning into a once-in-a-lifetime fortune. Collectors were speechless. Dealers couldn't believe their eyes. And ordinary Americans began rushing to check their change jars, wallets, and dusty drawers, desperate to see if they too held the miracle penny. What secret hides in this coin? And why is it that so many people miss it when it's right in front of them? To answer that, we need to rewind back to 2009. It was the bicentennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth. The U.S. Mint was experimenting, producing special designs, honoring his legacy. Collectors were paying close attention. But in the midst of this excitement, something unexpected happened. A batch of Lincoln pennies slipped out of the mint with no identifying mint mark. No D for Denver. No S for San Francisco. Nothing at all. Just a blank space where history demanded a letter. At first, no one noticed. Pennies circulated as usual. Children tossed them into fountains. Shoppers dropped them into candy machines. Cashiers slid them across countertops without a second thought. But a few sharp-eyed collectors began whispering, "Something is wrong with these coins." And they were right, because when experts confirmed the error, the absence of the mint mark, the value of this penny skyrocketed. What was once worth a single cent was suddenly worth thousands, then hundreds of thousands, and in one shocking auction, one of these rare 2009 no-mint mark Lincoln pennies sold for nearly $2 million. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Stories began surfacing. A man in Ohio found one in his change after buying a coffee. A woman in Florida spotted one mixed in with pennies her son had saved in a piggy bank. Each discovery was like lightning striking twice, and each coin was instantly considered a national treasure. The U.S. Mint does not make mistakes often. When it does, collectors pounce. A missing mint mark transforms an ordinary coin into a one-of-a-kind survivor. Rarity fuels value. And the 2009 penny was already historic, marking 200 years since Lincoln's birth. Combine that with the missing mint mark, and you get a coin so rare, so desirable, that million-dollar price tags are not only possible, they're real. But here's where it gets even more fascinating. Not every 2009 penny is valuable. Millions upon millions were struck with mint marks. Denver, Philadelphia, San Francisco, those are everywhere. But the no mint mark variety? Those are ghosts. Hidden treasures disguised as everyday coins. And that's why collectors across America are tearing through coin rolls, scanning every penny they can find, desperate for that one missing letter. One tiny detail is the difference between a penny that's worth a cent and a penny that's worth a fortune. Think about it. Right now, you could have one of these in a jar on your kitchen counter. You could have picked it up at the grocery store, paid with it at a gas station, or let it fall between your couch cushions without realizing it. And yet, if it's the right penny, it could change your life overnight. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on them. Collectors are guarding theirs with tight fists. And auction houses are waiting for the next one to surface, because every time it does, the bidding wars are explosive. But here's the twist most people don't see. Some fakes are out there. Unscrupulous sellers scratch mint marks off regular 2009 pennies, hoping to trick eager buyers. That's why you can't rely on your eyes alone. You need expert verification. Genuine no-mint mark 2009 pennies have subtle markers, tiny diagnostics that confirm authenticity. Without those, it's just another coin. Collectors were shocked when they realized how easily they could be fooled. But the real coins, the genuine survivors, are unmistakable once authenticated. And those are the coins worth life-changing money. First, look at the date. 2009. Then, look closely beneath it. If there's no mint mark, you might have something. But don't stop there. Study the surface. Real error coins have clean fields, not signs of tampering. And the weight, the strike, the metal composition, all of it must match up. That's where grading services come in. PCGS, NGC. They'll confirm whether your coin is the $1,000,000 miracle. And here's something you can't forget. Condition is everything. A scratched-up coin pulled from circulation might fetch thousands. But a pristine, uncirculated example? That's where the $1,000,000 dreams become reality. But what makes this story so powerful isn't just the money. It's the reminder that history hides in plain sight. That something as small, as humble, as ordinary as a penny can carry within it a secret capable of changing someone's life forever. Think about that the next time you empty your pockets. Think about that the next time you're about to toss loose change into a tip jar. That 1-cent coin could be worth $1,000,000. And here's the final truth you need to know. The 2009 no mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny is not just a collector's item. It's a symbol of how the smallest things can hold the greatest value. It's a reminder that fortune doesn't always come in gold bars or lottery tickets. Sometimes, it comes in copper and zinc, hiding in plain sight. So check your change. Look twice. Don't dismiss the humble penny. Because somewhere out there, waiting to be found, is a 2009 no mint mark penny worth up to $2,000,000. This coin almost ended up forgotten in a dusty jar of pocket change. But when a sharp-eyed collector spotted it, he realized it wasn't just a penny. It was a life-changing discovery, one that could be worth up to $3.4 million. The year was 2013. Most people were scrolling through their phones, sipping coffee, or tossing pennies into tip jars without a second thought. But hidden among billions of ordinary Lincoln pennies struck that year was something extraordinary. A coin so rare, so mysterious, that it would leave collectors stunned. A coin with no mint mark, a tiny missing detail that could turn a single cent into a fortune. Why would a 2013 penny, a coin so new you might still find it in your change today, hold such unimaginable value? The truth lies in a story of minting errors, overlooked details, and the relentless hunt by collectors who know that sometimes the smallest imperfection can mean the difference between pocket change and millions. For decades, the U.S. Mint has carefully stamped its coins with mint marks, those little letters like D for Denver or S for San Francisco. But when that mark is missing, whether by accident or design, history has shown us time and again, the value skyrockets. Just one slip, one die prepared differently, can create a variety that the world wasn't meant to see. And in 2013, one such coin slipped into circulation. Collectors first whispered about it on online forums. A penny with no mint mark, gleaming under the light, unlike the others. Most dismissed it. After all, mistakes this rare shouldn't happen in the modern minting process. But then, proof surfaced. A coin sold at auction, not for hundreds, not for thousands, but for over $1,000,000. And rumors swirled that the highest graded examples could command as much as $3.4 million. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Dealers began rushing to check their bulk lots of 2013 pennies. Everyday people dug through change jars, desperate to find one. One man in Ohio claimed he nearly spent his in a vending machine before noticing its strange lack of a mint mark. He almost traded away a life-changing fortune for a can of soda. Can you imagine? Most people would never notice this penny. The difference is so small, so easy to miss. A quick glance, and it looks like any other 2013 Lincoln cent. But when you slow down, when you look just under the date, where the mint mark should be, you realize something's missing. Something that turns the ordinary into the extraordinary. The mint has never fully explained how this coin slipped through. Was it a forgotten die from the test runs? Was it a deliberate strike meant only for internal use that accidentally made its way out? Or was it simply human error in an age when machines are supposed to be flawless? We may never know. But the mystery only fuels its value. Collectors were shocked at how quickly the market responded. Prices soared. Auctions turned into battles, with bidders throwing down staggering amounts of money. Millions of dollars for a coin worth 1 cent on its face. And with every new discovery, with every fresh story of someone finding one in circulation, the legend of the 2013 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny grew larger. But this story doesn't end with auctions. No, it gets even wilder. In 2017, a man cleaning out his late father's belongings stumbled upon an old coffee can filled with pennies. He nearly gave them to the bank, thinking they were worthless. But his son, a young coin enthusiast, begged to check them first. Hours later, buried deep in that tin, they found it. A 2013 penny with no mint mark, pristine, uncirculated, gleaming like the day it was struck. That coin, when authenticated, sold for a staggering sum that changed their family's future forever. Every penny matters. Every coin tells a story. And sometimes, that story ends with a fortune. What makes the 2013 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny worth up to $3.4 million? The answer lies in the details most people overlook. First, check the date. It must read 2013. Next, look just beneath it. Normally, you'd expect to see a D for Denver or perhaps another mint mark. On this coin, that space is completely empty. No letter, no mark. Smooth, clean, and unmistakable once you know what to look for. Thousands of pennies have worn surfaces where the mint mark has faded with time. That's not the same. A genuine no-mint mark variety shows absolutely no trace of a letter. The surface is perfect, as if it was never there at all. This difference separates a coin worth a cent from a coin worth millions. Some of the highest graded examples, preserved in near-perfect condition, have been valued at numbers that defy belief. $3 million. $3.4 million. Imagine holding that in your hand. A penny so valuable you'd need armed guards to carry it to auction. This is why collectors say the thrill of the hunt never fades. Somewhere in circulation, somewhere in a forgotten jar or tucked away in an old drawer, there could be another 2013 no-mint mark penny waiting to be found. And the next person to discover it may be an ordinary man or woman who simply takes the time to look closely. Think about it. One moment you're counting change for a morning coffee, and the next, you're staring at a coin that could make you a millionaire. 1 cent transformed into millions of dollars, simply because you noticed what others ignored. So the next time a penny crosses your palm, don't dismiss it. Don't rush. Look closer. Check the date. Check for the mint mark. Because one day, you might find yourself holding the exact coin that changes everything. And when you do, remember this story. Remember the collectors who were shocked, the dealers who scrambled, the families who discovered their fortune in the unlikeliest of places. Because the 2013 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny isn't just a coin. It's a reminder that miracles hide in plain sight. This penny was almost forgotten, almost tossed aside, almost lost in the shuffle of ordinary pocket change. But instead, it stunned the world by being valued at over $3.5 million. A single coin. A single cent. A coin so common most people never look twice. Yet this one, with a small D beneath the date 2002, carries a secret that has shaken collectors, dealers, and treasure hunters alike. At first glance, nothing about the 2002 D. Lincoln Memorial penny seemed special. Billions were minted at the Denver facility. They're still out there today, jingling in drawers, hiding at the bottom of coffee cans, resting in old piggy banks. But among those billions, a handful were struck differently. And it's those rare survivors that now command staggering prices, some climbing into the millions. The story begins with the U.S. Mint in the early 2000s. This was the end of an era for the Lincoln Memorial reverse design, which had been used since 1959. With billions of pennies rolling off the presses, speed was everything. And when speed becomes the priority, mistakes become inevitable. And it was one of these mistakes, so small, so unnoticeable to most eyes, that changed everything. Collectors first whispered about the odd 2002 penny in hushed tones. A coin with a doubled feature, another with an off-center strike, and most shocking of all, a penny minted on the wrong planchet, a blank mint for another denomination entirely. Dealers couldn't believe it. Some thought the reports were hoaxes. But then, the first example surfaced at auction, and what happened next stunned the entire coin world. That single penny, plucked from ordinary circulation, rocketed in price as bidders fought tooth and nail to claim it. The hammer finally fell. The coin sold for a life-changing amount, millions of dollars, for what was once worth just 1 cent. Imagine it. One person's casual pocket change transformed into a $3.5 million miracle. Collectors were left in disbelief. Dealers were scrambling to search their own stockpiles. Everyday people started pulling out magnifying glasses, hunting through jars of pennies they hadn't touched in years. But here's the chilling part. Most people who held this exact penny never even knew what they had. Some spent it. Some dropped it. Some left it buried in the dust at the bottom of an old drawer. And each of those ordinary transactions may have destroyed the chance at a fortune. Some were struck on foreign coin blanks. Others show dramatic double dies, where Lincoln's image or the lettering is shadowed by a second impression. A few display off-metal strikes, pennies accidentally made on dime stock, or even nickel stock. These are so rare that experts estimate only a handful exist. And when one appears, the bidding war is ferocious. But that's not all. Condition matters more than most realize. A flawless, uncirculated example with blazing luster can elevate a coin from hundreds to thousands, and into the millions when the error is dramatic enough. One pristine 2002 penny with the right error recently shocked collectors by reaching over $3.5 million. And here's where the story takes another turn. Ordinary people are still finding these coins today. A retired man in Texas discovered one tucked into a roll from his local bank. A young woman in Colorado found another, while sorting through her grandfather's old collection. Both coins went on to fetch staggering prices. Both finds changed their lives forever. And yet, the majority of people never even bother to look. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Look closely beneath the date 2002. If you see the small d, you're halfway there. Now, examine Lincoln's features: his eye, his ear, the lettering of Liberty. Doubling here is a telltale sign. If the coin looks thicker, shadowed, or doubled, it could be a true rarity. Even slightly off in color? It could mean it was struck on the wrong metal, an error so rare, dealers will fight for it. And finally, study the edges. Off-center strikes or clipped edges can raise values into unimaginable territory. But the greatest clue of all is condition. If your 2002 penny looks untouched, gleaming, and flawless, you may be holding something the world's top collectors would pay millions to possess. And here's the most haunting thought of all. Right now, as you hear my voice, there could be a 2002 Lincoln Memorial penny worth $3.5 million sitting quietly in a drawer, a jar, or even in your pocket change, waiting to be discovered, waiting to change a life. Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but instead, it became one of the most valuable pennies in American history. A single, ordinary-looking 1967 Lincoln penny, with no mint mark at all, shocked collectors when it surfaced at auction and sold for more than most people make in a lifetime. It wasn't gold. It wasn't silver. It was a simple copper coin, the kind millions of people had jingling in their pockets that year. Yet this one was different. And its story would forever change the way collectors see the coins in their own drawers. Now imagine this. You're holding a penny, just like the one you've handled thousands of times before. You're about to toss it into a jar, or maybe even spin it on a stick of gum. But then, under the right light, you see something, a tiny detail so rare, so mysterious, it transforms that coin into a ticket worth millions. This is the story of the 1967 no-mint mark Lincoln Memorial Penny, a coin that has stunned the collecting world by selling for up to $3.6 million. To understand, we need to go back to a turbulent time in American history, the late 1960s. The year was 1967. The United States Mint was under pressure like never before. Silver had been pulled from circulating coins just 2 years earlier, and collectors were hoarding coins at an alarming rate. To stop shortages, the mint made a drastic decision. For 3 full years, 1965, 1966, and 1967, no mint marks would appear on coins. It didn't matter if they were made in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco. Every coin looked the same dot on the surface. This might seem unremarkable, but hidden in this decision were the seeds of one of the rarest, most valuable pennies ever created. Because when you take away mint marks, you take away certainty. Errors become harder to detect. Small variations slip through. And collectors, they live for these mistakes. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. In 1967, as billions of pennies were being struck, a small batch emerged unlike the rest. Some carried subtle doubling on the date. Others had striking flaws in the lettering. A few were produced on the wrong planchets, creating bizarre off-metal errors. These errors, hidden within an ocean of ordinary copper cents, would one day drive collectors wild. Yet even among these rarities, one coin would rise above them all, a flawless, uncirculated 1967 penny with no mint mark, preserved in pristine condition against all odds. Collectors were shocked when it first appeared. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on it. And when the bidding began, no one could believe what they were seeing. The price climbed higher and higher until it crossed the threshold of $3 million. Yes, a single penny, a coin most people wouldn't bend down to pick up off the sidewalk, had become worth $3.60 million. The answer lies in the combination of history, condition, and scarcity. First, 1967 pennies were mass-produced, but almost none were saved in perfect mint state. Most were spent, scratched, and worn down quickly. Second, the lack of mint marks means that identifying errors requires a sharp eye. Many people overlook them completely. Third, the 1967 penny came at a moment in time when America's coinage was in chaos, giving birth to rare mistakes that can't be replicated today. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Now, picture a man in Ohio, sorting through a box of old coins from his late father. Dust covered the cardboard rolls, coins untouched for decades. He opened one, poured the pennies into his hand, and saw a flash of luster. One coin gleamed brighter than the rest. He looked closer. No scratches. No wear. Just flawless copper. That coin, after grading, would later sell at auction for a jaw-dropping price. Over $1 million. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. But the story doesn't end there. Other collectors began checking their jars, their shoeboxes, their forgotten piggy banks. More discoveries came, not many, but enough to fuel a frenzy. Each time, the prices grew higher. And each time, the 1967 penny proved that a coin doesn't need to be ancient or gold to be priceless. Dealers whispered about it at conventions. collectors search through bags of pennies, hoping to find just one. And slowly, the legend of the 1967 no-mint mark penny spread across America. But here's where the real suspense lies. You might already have one. Right now. So what should you look for? First, check the date. It must be 1967. Second, notice that there is no mint mark under the date. That's correct, because none were struck that year. But condition is everything. A coin in average circulated shape may be worth just a few cents. A coin in brilliant uncirculated condition, with sharp detail and blazing luster, could be worth thousands, and in the rarest cases, millions. Also, watch for errors. Look for doubling on the date or the letters, Liberty, and In God We Trust. Look for unusual thickness, off-center strikes, or coins struck on the wrong metal. These errors transform a penny into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. If you find a 1967 penny, do not clean it. Cleaning destroys the surface, ruins its value, and could erase a fortune. Leave it as is, and if you suspect it might be rare, have it graded by a professional service. Collectors say the thrill of finding one of these coins is indescribable. Dealers admit that even after decades in the business, the 1967 penny still gives them chills. And those who've sold one for millions? They'll never forget the moment they realized their penny wasn't just change. It was life-changing. So the next time you open that coin jar, or reach for spare change in your drawer, remember this. Among the most ordinary pennies in America lies a hidden king. The 1967 no-mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny. It has turned pocket change into wealth. It has stunned the coin world. And it could be sitting right now in your very own home. This coin almost slipped through history unnoticed. A single 2015 penny, no-mint mark, dull, ordinary at first glance, was pulled from circulation and ended up shocking the entire coin world. Why? Because that 1 cent, the kind you might toss into a tip jar or drop under your car seat, carried a value that soared to nearly $1 million. Collectors couldn't believe it. Dealers were stunned. And ordinary people started checking their change with trembling hands. Because if this coin could hide in plain sight, how many more are still out there? What made this penny so extraordinary? Why did a coin minted in 2015, a year most people would never associate with rare treasure, suddenly become a life-changing discovery? The story begins in Philadelphia. That's where pennies without a mint mark are produced. Millions upon millions of them, rolling off the presses every single day. Most of them are flawless in their simplicity. Copper-plated zinc, the same design you've seen 1,000 times. But somewhere in that chaotic storm of production, something happened. A mistake. A misalignment. A flaw so subtle, most eyes would miss it. But the few who spotted it knew they had stumbled on something legendary. Because this wasn't just a 2015 penny. It was a 2015 penny with no mint mark, hiding a minting anomaly that turned pocket change into a fortune. At first, it looked like nothing. Worn edges. The familiar face of Lincoln. The memorial on the reverse. But a collector, one who had trained their eyes for years, noticed the detail. The strike. The error. The impossible rarity. And that single detail would change everything. The coin entered the auction block. Whispers filled the room. Bidders raised their paddles. Prices climbed. A few hundred. A few thousand. Then, tens of thousands. The air grew heavy with disbelief. By the time the hammer fell, the price had skyrocketed into the stratosphere, brushing against the unimaginable mark of $1 million. 1 cent. One coin. One miracle. But what exactly did the winning bidder see that made this coin so irresistible? Why would anyone pay that much for what seems to be just another modern penny? The answer lies in the nature of error coins. They're not supposed to exist. They slip through cracks in a system built for perfection. When they survive, they become ghosts of the mint, mysterious, rare, and priceless. The 2015 no-mint mark penny was one of those ghosts. Its value wasn't just in metal, but in mystery. In the story it carried. In the rarity that no one saw coming. Collectors rushed to check their own 2015 pennies. Dealers scrambled to buy up rolls before others could. Even those who had never cared about coins before suddenly felt the spark. Because this wasn't just about money, it was about possibility. The possibility that something sitting right under your nose could change your life forever. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Another example appeared. Then another, each one slightly different. Each one carrying that same aura of mystery. And suddenly, the chase was on. People weren't just looking for any 2015 penny. They were looking for the one with a subtle strike difference. The one with that missing perfection. The one that could turn their pocket change into pure treasure. Collectors spoke of it in hushed tones. Dealers handled them with gloves, barely breathing as they inspected every detail. Because a mistake so small could mean the difference between 1 cent and $1 million. Now imagine this. You're standing at a grocery store, paying for a carton of milk. You get your change back. You glance at the pennies in your palm. One of them looks ordinary. Maybe you're about to flick it into your cup holder, but wait. Look again. Look closer. That's where miracles are found. A genuine 2015 penny without a mint mark will have been struck at the Philadelphia Mint. That in itself is normal. But the $1 million versions reveal something more. Look closely at the lettering. Any doubling on the words, Liberty, or In God We Trust. That's a red flag for a double die. Check the date. Is there a shadow effect around the numbers? Another possible sign. Look at the memorial on the reverse. Sometimes these rare errors show blurring, off-center strikes, or even partial designs. Don't assume your penny is worthless just because it looks common. Errors are often microscopic, but their value is enormous. Collectors have already paid staggering sums for these mistakes. Some in the hundreds of thousands. Some in the millions, and the market is only growing. Because every time one of these coins surfaces, it rewrites what we thought we knew about modern pennies, and it proves that history is still being written, one coin at a time. So tonight, before you dismiss that jar of change, before you toss that penny aside, stop, look, inspect, pay attention. Because one ordinary-looking 2015 penny with no mint mark is already worth a fortune. This coin almost ended up in the trash. Just an ordinary penny, scratched, forgotten, and tossed aside. But when collectors took a closer look, they realized it wasn't just any penny. It was hiding a secret so powerful, it turned a single cent into a fortune. One lucky discovery, and suddenly a coin that should have been worth only 1 penny was now worth up to $1.1 million. Imagine that for a moment. You're digging through your pocket change, irritated because all you have is pennies. You're about to hand them over at the counter, not thinking twice. But one of those coins, one simple 2007 Lincoln Memorial penny, could secretly hold the key to $1 million miracle. And the shocking part? Most people who hold one of these treasures never even realize what's in their hands. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. In 2007, the Denver Mint struck hundreds of millions of Lincoln Memorial pennies. Most of them were utterly ordinary, never destined to be anything more than spare change. Yet, buried within that massive production run, something went wrong. A hidden flaw, a minting mistake, and in some cases, a once-in-a-lifetime error that collectors would one day fight over. These errors weren't immediately noticed. They slipped quietly into circulation, hiding in pockets, cash drawers, and old jars on dusty shelves. Years passed, and then, suddenly, a collector stumbled across one. At first glance, it looked like every other copper-plated zinc penny. But under the right light, a strange detail appeared. Something off, something unusual. He set it aside, unsure of what he had. When he finally showed it to a dealer, the response was instant. shock, disbelief, excitement. That single penny, the coin everyone else would have spent without hesitation, was worth a fortune. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on this coin. Stories began to spread like wildfire. Could it really be true? Could a 2007 penny, of all years, carry a value this staggering? And then the rumors were confirmed. At auction, one of these rare pennies commanded a price nobody expected. Bidding wars broke out. The final hammer dropped. That tiny coin, once dismissed as pocket change, was now valued at up to $1.1 million. This is where the story gets even more dramatic. Because the differences are subtle. They're easy to miss unless you know exactly what to look for. Some coins show doubling, letters in, Liberty, or the date. 2007. Appearing doubled, ghost-like, almost vibrating under magnification. Others reveal striking alignment issues, off-center strikes that shift Lincoln's portrait unnervingly toward the rim. Some even contain unusual die cracks or plating errors, scars from the minting process that should never have passed inspection. The 2007 pennies struck on transitional planchets, coins accidentally minted on the wrong metal, are the holy grail. Imagine a coin meant to be a modern copper-plated zinc penny, but instead, it was struck on a leftover blank mint for another denomination. Heavier, different in tone, these coins stand out the moment you feel them in your hand. To collectors, this mistake is worth a fortune, and yet, most people overlook it. Think about that for a second. How many times have you held a 2007 penny side and tossed it back into circulation? How many times has someone walked past $1 million without realizing it? The thought alone is enough to make collectors' hearts race. But what happened next made the mystery even deeper. As word spread, treasure hunters everywhere began combing through their coins. Old piggy banks were cracked open. Coffee cans filled with pennies from decades past were poured out onto tables. People who hadn't looked at their coins in years suddenly became obsessed. And again, whispers emerged, another discovery. Another penny pulled from obscurity. Another coin that could change someone's life forever. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Another woman, casually sorting through a jar of pennies, pulled out a coin she almost gave to her grandson for a school project. When she realized what it was, her knees went weak. That simple coin ended up being her family's ticket to financial freedom. But here's the detail that's most chilling of all. These coins aren't locked away in museums. They're not all owned by wealthy investors. Some of them are still out there, hiding, waiting, slipping quietly from one pocket to the next. The possibility that you could already be carrying one is what keeps this legend alive. How do you identify the 2007 mint marked Lincoln Memorial penny that's worth up to $1.1 million? Look closely at the date. Check for doubling under magnification. Inspect the mint mark itself. Sometimes the D shows signs of repunching or distortion. Weigh the coin if you can. A normal 2007 penny should weigh 2.5 grams. If yours comes in heavier or lighter, you may have something extraordinary. Look for unusual color tones, plating flaws, or off-center strikes. Every small irregularity could be the sign of a hidden treasure. Fortune hides in the details. The coin you dismiss could be the coin that changes everything. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, don't just throw those pennies aside. Look at them with fresh eyes. Because history has proven, again and again, that life-changing discoveries come in the smallest, most ordinary packages. This isn't just about a penny. It's about possibility. About the idea that wealth, destiny, and luck could be sitting quietly in the palm of your hand, waiting for you to notice. And that's the real magic of coin collecting. Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This penny almost slipped through history unnoticed. A simple, ordinary coin from 1976, one that millions of Americans carried in their pockets during the bicentennial year. But behind its copper glow lies a shocking secret, a secret so rare it has turned a single penny into a treasure worth up to $1.5 million. Collectors call it one of the most elusive mysteries of modern coinage. Dealers whisper about it at shows. And ordinary people, yes, people just like you, have stumbled upon these coins by pure accident. But here's the question that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Could you have one of these pennies sitting in your pocket change right now? It all begins in Denver, 1976. The United States was celebrating 200 years of independence. Fireworks lit the sky. Flags waved on every street corner. And inside the Denver Mint, presses thundered day and night, striking billions of pennies with Abraham Lincoln's image. To most, these coins were nothing more than pocket change. But hidden within those billions, a few slipped through with shocking flaws, errors so dramatic, they transformed an everyday penny into a collector's obsession. One such coin was pulled from circulation by a sharp-eyed collector. At first, he thought it was just another 1976 penny. But as he held it under the light, something looked off. The lettering wasn't where it should have been. The mint mark seemed doubled. The strike was slightly misaligned. And as he inspected further, he realized this was no ordinary coin. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When that very penny went to auction, bidding wars erupted. Collectors fought tooth and nail, desperate to own a piece of numismatic legend. And when the final hammer fell, the price wasn't just shocking, it was life-changing. That single penny had sold for nearly $1.5 million. Now pause for a moment and imagine this. You hand over a penny at the grocery store without thinking. The cashier drops it into a drawer. And in that drawer sits what could have been the single greatest find of your life. A penny worth $1 million. And here's the detail that most people miss. The 1976 Lincoln Memorial penny doesn't just have one type of error. There are several varieties that make collectors' jaws drop. Some have a double die verse, where Lincoln's profile and the inscription show doubling under magnification. Others were struck on the wrong planchet, meaning instead of a copper penny blank, they were struck on dime stock or foreign coin metal, giving them strange colors and unusual weights. And then there are the off-center strikes, where Lincoln's face is pushed to the side, leaving a crescent-shaped blank space on the coin. But the rarest of them all, the one worth over $1 million, is the 1976 error that combines a minting flaw with pristine condition. It's not just about the mistake, it's about the state of preservation. Coins that escaped circulation, coins that never endured scratches or pocket wear, became holy grails for collectors. Dealers who once brushed past the humble penny now rush to their magnifying glasses, scanning every detail of the 1976 Why? Because they know lightning can strike in the most ordinary places. One man found his in an inherited coin jar. Another discovered his in a box of wheat pennies he bought at a garage sale. And in one incredible story, a teenager searching through pocket change spotted the doubling under Lincoln's chin, a mistake that turned his summer job savings into a six-figure windfall. But what makes this coin so dangerous is how easy it is to overlook. Most people never think to check the year. They see 1976 and imagine only quarters with the special bicentennial design. But pennies? They forget that those two were struck in that iconic year. And because the penny design didn't change, almost everyone assumes nothing special could be hiding there. That false assumption has cost countless people their chance at life-changing money. Now let's talk about condition. Even if you find a 1976 with an error, its value can vary wildly. A worn example might fetch hundreds or thousands. But in uncirculated, mint-state grades, coins so sharp they look like they just left the press, the numbers skyrocket. That's where we see prices pushing into the millions. Collectors were shocked when PCGS and NGC, the leading grading companies, certified these coins at the highest levels. The population reports show just how few exist. Imagine a sea of billions of coins, but only a handful hold this golden ticket. That scarcity is what drives the frenzy, the bidding wars, the million-dollar miracles. And here's the part that gives chills to anyone listening. These coins are still out there. Not all of them have been found. Somewhere, tucked away in a forgotten piggy bank or rattling around in a glass jar of change, sits a 1976 D Lincoln penny that could rewrite someone's future. But what should you be looking for? A clear D just beneath the date. Next, inspect the coin carefully for errors. Look for doubling in the lettering of "In God We Trust" or "Liberty." Check for off-center strikes, clipped planchets, or unusual metal colors that signal a wrong planchet error. And most importantly, examine the condition. Sharp edges, glossy luster, and no scratches can mean the difference between $100 and $1 million. Not every 1976 D penny is valuable. In fact, most are worth only face value. That's why collectors spend hours under magnification, chasing that 1 in a billion mistake. It's the thrill of the hunt, the possibility that the next coin they flip over could be the one. And maybe, just maybe, that coin is sitting in your pocket right now. You've walked past fortune countless times in your life. How many coins have you spent without a second glance? How many treasures slipped through your fingers? The 1976 D penny is a reminder that miracles hide in plain sight. 1 penny. One discovery. One twist of fate. That's all it takes. Because while most people see just a coin, the wise collector sees a story. A story worth up to $1.5 million. So check your change. Search your drawers. Inspect those jars of pennies you've ignored for years. Because this exact coin, the 1976 D Lincoln Memorial penny with its shocking mint error, could be waiting for you. And if you find it, your life could change forever. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million.